Good afternoon, or might be morning when you're watching this. Sorry, hello, I'm Paula Edwards. I'm from Advanced Virtual Assistants. I'm here today to talk to you about raising your prices. Honestly, I hear this all the time and it's been coming up in our membership quite a lot. So I thought I'd bring it here and talk to you about how you can go about raising your prices. I think a lot of people, it's very, well, apologies to those of you who are not British in this audience, but it's very British not to want to talk about money yet. If we go into business, we're going to have to get very comfortable about talking about money. And so you need to get over that and just push yourself into your discomfort zone and get on with it, really. But in terms of raising your prices, essentially everything else in this world tends to go up in price. That's inflation for you. And so, especially at the moment with the cost of living and everything. And so everyone's going to be expecting your prices to increase a little bit year on year, and I'm not saying that they should jump up astronomically every few months, but I think that it wouldn't be unreasonable to expect a slight increase each year. And and of course, it depends on where you start out at. How confident were you when you set your prices? If you think you've set them a bit low, I think it's a bit harder to jump it up and bring it. When you start getting confidence in the value that you deliver, you feel much more comfortable at charging the rates that you feel like is fair. And of course, any new clients coming in, when you're in this much stronger mindset, you will charge them the rate that you feel more comfortable doing so. But those historic clients, the people that you started out with, might be on something considerably lower. That's very typical and normal. And ideally, what we want to do is bring them up to where everybody else is. But that's just going to take a little bit of time. For example, let's say there's a £10 an hour difference in those two rates. Really, you're not going to be able to bring that up by £10 an hour in the first time that you put your prices up. No, you can, but it isn't going to be received very well. But I would, urge you to try to bring everybody up so that they're all aligned in the rates that you're charging. So when should you increase your prices? Well, there's several things here, I would say. One is, what is the current national average rate and how does your rate sit next to that? So currently we're in 2026. It's July. I had to think about that. It's July, and I believe the current average rate is around, let's say, £34 an hour in the UK. This is so. Where do your prices sit next to that, and how much experience have you got? Maybe you're somebody who's got a few years admin experience and you're not comfortable to charge £34 an hour. I mean, you need to do what's comfortable, but I do want you to get more comfortable with um, discussing this and asking for what you're worth. So let's just base this on the £34 an hour, just for argument's sake for this conversation. Maybe some of your early clients, you started them off at £20 an hour because you knew no better. You thought that sounds like a lot. The national living wage is something like £15 an hour, and you thought that sounds expensive. £20 an hour sounds expensive. Who's going to pay that? I bet you had that conversation with yourself. I know I did when I started out. It's not how it works, of course, because we're covering our own national insurance, our own taxes, our own software, all of the things. Literally, we're covering it all ourselves. So there wouldn't be any, if your client thinks that £20 is an hour is a lot because they could pay an employed person £15 an hour, let them go and get an employed person because it's not cheaper. But maybe when you started out, you thought £20 an hour sounds amazing, and I totally get it. But now here you are, maybe a year on, and you realise that you're massively undercharging. You didn't put enough value on your own services, really, and you need to bring them up in line. Or maybe you were comfortable, you're not miles away, and you want to put your prices up anyway. So, what I would suggest is that you decide you have like an internal policy of like, I'm going to review my prices every February, which is what we do. I have a note recurring in my diary to review the prices in February and see what's going on in the market, what we've currently got, what we're offering, what our offer is, and where do we sit? Is this a good place to be? Is this not, like during COVID, I decided it's not a good time to put our prices up. It would be really disingenuous, and so we didn't. We stayed the same. But we've since needed to do a bit of catch up. So We review our prices annually. I do it in February because the year end being the end of March, I want to always give at least 30 days notice. So I try to give like 6 weeks notice that on the 1st of April, for example, our prices are going to be raised to whatever we decide they're going to be. So it's easy for new clients coming in because that's just what they are. They know no different, but it is a bit harder for existing clients. So let's say you want to raise it to £36 an hour for existing clients and new clients that are coming in. Those that are on £20 an hour are going to be, you're not going to be easily able to do that jump. Now you could say I'm now charging £36 an hour. The likelihood is that they're not going to stay with you, or you can jump it up slowly but surely. So I would have an email to go out. We've got a templated email that goes out that basically says we invest in our team, we invest in our software, we invest in our education, which we never charge our clients for. And we are, as a result of that, putting our prices up, and you've got 6 weeks notice, basically. But if it's somebody who you're trying to like bump up a bit from £20 an hour, I would just be honest and say, you're on a much lower rate than a lot of my other clients because you've been with me for so long. And because I want to respect that and honor that, and I'm grateful for you believing in me in the early part of my journey, I'm just going to raise send them a link to your website of what your rate is. But this is the link, this is currently what we're charging, but I'm going to honor your rate, and because I'm grateful for you trusting me in the early days, and I'm going to increase your rate, and let's say it goes up by maybe £5 an hour or something like that. That's what I would suggest you do, because fairness is one of my values, and that's how I would handle it. But of course, it's up to you. It's your business. I'm just giving you some ideas of how we do it. So that's how we would communicate it. We would send out an email to all of our clients, even if we're not putting the prices up, because it's in our terms and conditions that we review our prices annually. So if in February we decide, no, we're not putting the prices up, but I would email them out to say we've decided not to put our prices up. As I said, in COVID, we didn't, but generally we do. So we always give about 6 weeks notice prior to the price increase, and I always line it up with our year end or our new year. Now, you do feel a bit stressed that what if clients leave? I mean, honestly, I've got most of our clients email and say, no problem, thanks for letting me know. We have had a couple people push back, especially those that we're trying to bring up in line. And I've just had to apologise and say I realise that it might sound like a lot, but unfortunately, and reiterate, this is the value that we're giving you. This is what we're charging other people. And if people decide to leave, then that they weren't necessarily your ideal client anyway, because normally if they've been working with you for a while, they'll recognize the value. And often, you know what, they've probably been sat there thinking, I'm getting away with it here because I've got such a great VA and they're not charging me a whole lot, and they won't be terribly surprised that you're putting your prices up. So I want you to feel much more comfortable about that and thinking about how you're going to do it, and have the confidence in your value, and do it now, do it today. Go and diarise when you're going to put your prices up, and think about how you're going to put that process into place. Think about your templated email. Have a chat with ChatGPT or somebody to help you do it. And good luck with it. Please don't delay. I want you to go and do that right now. Take care. Bye.